And finally, we'll be able to close this here door.
Enemy sighted.
And I don't know why he goes one square at a time, but oh yeah, because he revealed those gene stealers, so that'll stop a longer movement. And the sergeant, he's just gonna hold this tunnel. It's a nice long tunnel. Nothing's really gonna come at him, especially if he has command points. They shouldn't get to him, so he'll hold that. And I'll have reinforcements coming along the way, and they can push forward. Also, they're not in a particular rush, the north side, because the south side door has to be closed first. I would rather everyone's advancing at the same time. I'm not sure why I moved this guy up here one space. Maybe it was just to squish corpses. In any case, it's not really important. And here, what I did is I just assumed those 3 gene stealers were going to die on the guard mode of the lightning claws, and I believe they do, but there's reinforcements coming on their way. So ideally what he should have done is push forward there by killing someone melee. And now, one way to think of that is, what would you rather do? Make 2 80% rolls or 1 70% roll? Because all it takes is to lose 1 and then you die. And there you go. You see he has 77%, and the Thunderhammer he died. He couldn't hold out eventually. Luckily, I have a guy who's flipped around on that south train, and he'll be there to take care of any gene stealers coming down the tunnel. And good old Lightning Claws, he's still doing his job down there. Okay, we'll just flip that guy around so the animation plays out, and I'll scroll down south. I want to see what's going to happen south before I figure out what's going to happen north. I just feel like more's going on right now. North's in a safe position. South, it's sort of making me lose my identity as a Space Wolf. What am I doing? The Lightning Claw, he's not pushing. Like last turn he didn't even move a square. This turn he moved a square. It's kind of pathetic. And, I put that guy in guard mode. The bolter, it's just everything's going wrong down there. It's a crisis waiting to happen. It just, losing the initiative, not really knowing what to do, advancing at a slow pace. Luckily, I'm kind of trying to think, what is the north side going to do? And I think what I want to do is bring up that bolter to support the bolter with the power axe, to support the sergeant, and then they can make a push. And as they make a push, this useless individual with the bolter can make a push as well. And he'll also, if things go bad, just right below him to the south, he can take a left turn and fire down the corridor next turn. He probably should have gone on Overwatch down that corridor this turn, but he just didn't. Flamethrower, he's got 1 ammo. I'm gonna use that whenever I feel that I absolutely need it. He's kind of held in reserve. Otherwise, after that, he's just a punching bag. And until my guys get in position, you're just gonna go on Overwatch, because that's kind of the name of this turn, is losing the initiative. Not, sometimes that's what you need to do. Is you need to advance slowly and coordinatedly. Your Space Marines are really no good solo. They work as a team. So do the gene stealers, but you can think better than they can, believe it or not. And you see down here the Lightning Claw, he's doing what he needs to do, which is kill the gene stealers, but he's not doing the other part of that too well, which is move forward, gain ground. He's been kind of slow, and again, all it takes is 1 death, and then he's done. as you can see here, that he should have looked to his left and fired down that corridor last turn. This dude, I'll admit it's kind of cheap. I didn't know what was going on, that I had put him in guard mode last turn instead of Overwatch, so I figured he's got to move forward. That's why I undid the shot. I wanted him to move forward a square. 'Cause sometimes when your guys are on Overwatch, they don't shoot as far as they would normally. So that's why I did the undo there, not so much to get 2 shots, although it created that effect. Had I would have done that instead, you know, I believe I try and play this game honestly and not use the undo button cheaply. But I do use it when I go, okay, I didn't want to actually do that move for other reasons than besides just getting the reroll. So those two kind of coincided and it didn't look good.
Yes, brother.
And up north, pushing forward, gonna make the push. You see that everyone's getting ready to go down those 2 chambers. Unfortunately, this turn, the way the facing goes is the sergeant doesn't have a lot of ground to fire at Gene Stealers before they charge him. And down on the south, the Lightning Claw, he's going to do what he does and push forward about 1 square. You know, that's his average lately, perhaps less than that, pushing forward. That's all he can really do this turn because of you know, it takes 2 typically to kill the Gene Stealer and move forward, and then 2 to go on guard mode. So we didn't have a lot of command points to spare, and I wanted to save them for my bolters because they're going to get some charges this turn. And I like to be able to get, you know, as many rerolls as you can. That's one thing about going with Space Wolves, is they'll typically not have as many command points in reserve as Blood Angels, especially on hard. So that doesn't make your bolters as good. Otherwise, they can be exceedingly powerful at holding corridors of a sufficient length if they can get enough rerolls on their dice. And I believe the sergeant, he jams up here. So now this Gene Stealer gets a melee attack, but luckily the sergeants aren't too bad in melee. The Space Wolf sergeants, they're considerably better if they're on guard mode. Actually, they're getting up there with some of the pure close assault classes. So sergeant's not too bad, held that corridor. Starting with the Lightning Claw, let's see what kind of action he's going to get down here. Again, he's got to push forward. And oh no! It's over. It's over for him. He did pretty good. But he died at a bad time. I'm not too thrilled about that death. Sergeant, he's got his back to the wall. He's got Gene Stealers pouring down on him. Luckily, he takes care of this one, and he's going to go on Overwatch. And hopefully, you know, with maybe some command points in reserve, just shoot whatever comes at him. And then we'll see where we're at next turn. That's not looking good. That guy probably could have done some movement instead of just hold Overwatch, but I didn't really know what to do with him. Now over here, I'm kind of thinking this out. Unfortunately, I can't really burn my command points. I'm feeling at this point I want to at least keep 1 or 2, hopefully 2, for my sergeant in south because he's in a hairy position, and I want to give him the rerolls he's going to need. So I'm thinking, let me have my flamer clear this room, and then next turn I can sort of push forward. You know, otherwise it's too awkward of an angle to take. But if I can get to this room, especially with 2 bolters and 1 behind, I'll be in a much better position to advance. So probably now this is the time to use that flame, and definitely that 1 flame ammo isn't going to do me any good if my guy is dead. No point in holding on to ammo to the grave. Might as well use it all. That's what I always say. And so now I'm kind of debating, how am I going to push forward? Do I want to move that guy 2 squares? Do I want to move my flamer and burn all my command points so I can move the power axe behind him? The clock is sort of ticking down, so I'm not given as much time as I'd like to think about it. I kind of spent a lot of time thinking, you know, what am I going to do with this guy? Am I going to move him up? Is he still going to go on the defensive? What if they pour around at his corner? You know, these kind of considerations for next turn and positioning. So that guy ends up doing nothing that turn. And so here, this is kind of messed up. You'll see he fires his gun jams here, And so, of course, he spends a command point and unjams it, and I still even have a command point in reserve. So I get why he went on melee with that person, but then that Gene Stealer charges him, and he doesn't shoot that Gene Stealer. Like, what's up with that? That's not cool. You unjammed your gun. Why are you... And then there, again, he doesn't shoot at them. Might as well have just put him on guard mode. So that's something I kind of noticed with Space Wolves sometime, is their guns aren't particularly... they don't always work like you want them to. Gotta figure out what I'm gonna do up north, how I'm gonna advance. This turn is the turn to move. I don't care what you say, move that Flamer punching bag. He's really just a punching bag now. Move him up ahead. Get the L Sergeant up in the door frame. You know, that's not the worst angle he's got. He can shoot him a couple times before they get at him. He is a sergeant, so he's not too bad in melee. He's not great, especially if he's not on guard mode. And then I kind of reverse what I'm doing with that bolter there, make him move back. You know, and so maybe that was a total waste last turn to move him forward. But, you know, maybe he did bait. You know, you got to bait the Gene Stealer sometimes, and I think that's what he did. I don't know. And so the sergeant down on the south side, what's he doing? He's shooting, going on Overwatch, gonna reserve 3 command points. But psych, those command points don't always work like you want them to. So I figured kill that guy. That way he's got more of a shooting ground to shoot the Gene Stealers coming after him. And I back up that bolter a little bit. I figure if they're going to die, they're all going to die together. Better they die as buddies than, you know, strange fellows. So his gun jams here, but then he suddenly remembers, oh, hey, I can unjam it and I can keep firing, which was incredibly necessary for him to do this turn. You know, and he did a good job. He did a good job shooting these Gene Stealers coming at him. And then this sergeant up here, he does a good job too, shooting the Gene Stealers. So this was the turn that I needed my dudes to kill the Gene Stealers, run at them, and they did that. So kudos to them. And you know, fucking Terminators. You never know what they're gonna do. This is the turn where you have a good enemy turn. You kill a lot of the Gene Stealers. You got to take advantage of it. You got to move forward. You got to push your ground, get in a better position. And so that's what I do here. I'm kind of figuring out, put him in the door frame. He's got a corridor to shoot down. I can have my other Terminator with the power axe getting in a supporting fire position. You know, in case I need to move them around. Having your Terminators in a room, a 9x9 room, really makes them quite deadly to Gene Stealers because they can do overlapping fields of fire, which is something you don't normally get. Calculating how far that blip can move. It can't move to get my my bolter there, so I'll have a crossfire. Those 2 bolters will be basically firing at each other and killing any Gene Stealers in between. And then down here, which is cool, you know, I'm lucky to be able to kill that individual without spending too many points. You know, 2 is fine. But then I noticed that doorway, the south doorway, the spawn point I should say, is not spawning Gene Stealers. So that means if I'm within 6 squares, they won't spawn this turn. And so I can blow a command point, move him forward. That's cool. No one's on Overwatch. And then finally, I can put the moneymaker, the assault cannon, into Overwatch, firing down the corridor. And pretty much, you know, he's got... You've ever seen assault cannons in action? They do a pretty damn good job of killing Gene Stealers. And it's all about knowing when to use them. And here he goes. He's just gonna, you know, pay the bills, take out these Gene Stealers running through, blow them up, give them whatever's got to be done. He does it all. And you know, those ammos are like gold, and he's spending them at the height of the market. He's selling high and buying low. That was a good move on his part.